Hello and welcome to your 2024 South Dakota Summer Wildfire Potential Outlook. I'm Darren Clavel, the State Fire Meteorologist for South Dakota. Today is May 3rd, 2024. Feel free to use this for all of your refresher training needs. So we're going to talk about wildfire climatology in this presentation, some forecast conditions for the next 1 to 6 months, and then we'll look at the wildfire potential for South Dakota. So first of all, when we talk about wildfire risk, we have to acknowledge that it's an environmental potential plus an ignitions potential. And the map I have here is ignitions over the past roughly 30 years across South Dakota. I'm not going to touch on ignitions because ignitions, can be human or lightning caused. Human-caused ignitions are really difficult to assess. Lightning-caused ignitions, obviously are more prevalent during the warm season in the months of June, July, August, and September. Over 50% of our wildfires in the Black Hills, at least, are caused by wildfire or caused by lightning. But we're not going to address that here. We're just going to strictly deal with the environmental potential, basically. What's the weather going to do, and how is it going to impact the fuels? Busy graph in front of you. There are 9 panels on here. Each one of these represents a different area of South Dakota. What I want you to focus on is the fact that the upper left panel represents northwestern South Dakota. The bottom right panel represents southeastern South Dakota. So kind of picture it as if you're looking at South Dakota. The middle panel, yes, that's central South Dakota. So on the bottom, it goes from January to December. On the left-hand side of each graph is acres burned. On the right hand of each graph is the number of fires. The lines go with the number of fires. The bars go with the acreage burned. My point here isn't to get too far into the details, but if you look at the right third of your screen, it's all of the eastern divisions of South Dakota. What you'll see is that the prime fire season in eastern South Dakota is really March, April, and into early May. This is reflective of the fact that fuels are cured there at that time, and maybe on years where they don't have a lot of snowpack, everything's available to burn. If you start looking at central South Dakota and western South Dakota towards the center and to the left-hand side of the screen, you'll start to see that it's a shift towards the summer and the fall months. If you focus on the Black Hills, which is the left center part of the screen, you'll see that the fire season really peaks around July and August. So that's the summer fire season in the Black Hills. It peaks really in the month of July. And you can see there's a little bit of a notable peak there in April. But as we move through this presentation, we're going to focus on the months of June, July, and August because that's what we're rolling up on. And we're going to look at some climatic factors that lead to big fires in western South Dakota during the prime summer months. So in February, March, and April, we're really looking at short-term dryness and above average temperatures that lead to big fires during those months. You don't need drought because the fuels are already cured. However, when you get to June, July, and August, because now we're talking about new herbaceous growth, new plants that are growing on the landscape, we have to start thinking about drought stress. During the months of June and July, it is imperative that we have drought in order for big fires. July, again, that's the peak fire month for fires in the Black Hills. We really need to have drought during the month of July. So as we go through this presentation, think about the fact that we have to have drought in June and July in order to get big fires. Other things that go along with big fires in June and July, at least historically, are above average temperatures and short-term precipitation deficits. When I say short-term, I mean like 6 to 14 days. So let's say it's the middle of July. We're in drought and we've had 11 days where we haven't seen any precip and we've had above average temperatures. That's really going to tilt the scales towards giving us a much higher fire potential. Once we move into August, however, drought's not that big of a thing. Because the fuels are starting to start coming down off of their live fuel moisture, start to decrease. They're starting to senesce and they're starting to die off, if you will, in terms of the live herbaceous fuel moisture. We're really looking at above average temperatures and short-term precipitation deficits. It's not so much of a drought thing that drives fires in August, but drought's definitely a big player in June and July. So going back over the past 12 months, here's our percent of normal precipitation. Warm colors showing below average precipitation, cool colors showing above average precipitation. South Dakota, either side of above and below. Sioux Falls region was below average. Western South Dakota, by and large, above average precip over the past 12 months. Pacific Northwest, below average. Upper Midwest, Central Midwest, below average precipitation. New England, above average precipitation. But if we zoom in on South Dakota over the past 90 days, on the left-hand side, you see a departure from normal temperature. On the right-hand side, percent of normal precipitation. So let's focus on the left-hand side, departure from normal temperature. Warm colors are indicative of above average temperatures, and this is actually a huge deal. Eastern South Dakota, 6 to 8 degrees above average over 90 days is historic. We're talking record warmth across all of the upper Midwest and really northern Great Plains. I mean, December, January, record warm months across the region. And even western South Dakota, 2 to 4 degrees above average over a 90-day period is pretty incredible. Going to the right-hand side, looking at percent of normal precipitation, again, cool colors above average precip, warm colors below average precip. Over the past 90 days, it's a total mixed bag. We've gotten a lot of precipitation events, but notably, Harding County and Fall River in western Custer County have missed out on that precipitation. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit to southwestern South Dakota. This is a 60-day SPI, a standardized precipitation index. These red colors are showing drought conditions across that area. Very dry conditions. It's very localized. It's a very small area. Rapid City, Pierre, all these areas are in the blues. Basically above average precipitation and non-drought conditions, or wetter than average conditions. But here across western Custer County and Fall River County, drier than average conditions. It's a pocket of dryness in the hills that we need to pay attention to. Here's accumulated precipitation just for Rapid City. So on the left is January 1st, on the right is December 31st. The left-hand scale is precipitation, accumulated precipitation in inches. Basically, this is saying, on average, Rapid City gets about 17.5 inches of rain, liquid equivalent, a year. When we were sitting, so again, brown line is average, green line is this year. When we were sitting in middle of February, going to the middle of March, we basically didn't have any precip whatsoever. I was getting extremely worried about our shoulder fire season here in the Black Hills. But then over the past month and change, we've been getting these big precip systems that have been impacting our area about every 5 days. And now here in Rapid City, we're sitting at about 130% of average, 140% of average in terms of year-to-date precipitation. We're doing well. But you'll see all these little black diamonds. That's the unknown. That's what's coming up. So what will the summer bring? And I'll get to that in a minute. Here's temperature. This is again for Rapid City Regional Airport. So this middle bar here that you see in brown, the top part of that brown is the average high temperature for that day. The bottom line is the average low temperature for that day. And if you look, we have January 1st on the bottom left all the way down to December 1st. December 31st on the bottom right, and then temperature on the left graph. So the blue bars are what we saw this year. The top of the red line is record high daily temperatures. The bottom of the blue line is record low daily temperatures. And so, yeah, middle of January was cold. We set some record low temperatures. But then 2 weeks later, end of January, we were setting record high temperatures. The point being, we've been largely above average. If you think back on the winter, you might remember those cold days, but by and large, it has been warmer than average. U.S. Drought Monitor, top left chart is the U.S. Drought Monitor from about this time last year, showing drought across the Great Plains. We've had a lot of improvement in the U.S. Drought Monitor. South Dakota, we've seen a lot of extensive improvement in the U.S. Drought Monitor. Northwestern South Dakota, still seeing a little bit of D0, abnormally dry, and D1 moderate drought conditions across the far northwestern part of the state, again, that Harding County area. And then we're seeing some abnormally dry conditions creep into western Custer and western Fall River County, again, associated with those 60-day SPI deficits that I had shown previously. But by and large, we're in pretty good shape. And again, I want to stress that big wildfires in South Dakota in the months of June and July, we got to have drought. So if this map ain't lit up, we're probably not going to get big fires in June and July. Here's our 52-week class change. The green colors show improvement. The brown colors show degradation. A lot of degradation across the desert southwest, across the Bighorns, across western Montana, northern Minnesota. But by and large, a lot of improvement across the Great Plains, which is a great thing for us. Busy graph here. So this is our forecast for May, June, and July. MJJ, May, June, and July. This is a temperature forecast for those 3 months. The bottom 8 graphs down here all represent dynamical models that are showing the potential for either above average or below average temperatures for North America. The reds are above average temperatures, the blue are below average temperatures, and this is just a wash of orange and red. I want you to focus on the top middle chart. This is the probabilistic forecast from the NMME, the North American Multi-Model Ensemble. This is showing us that there is high confidence amongst all of these weather models that we're going to see above average temperatures in the May, June, and July timeframe. If I flip over to precipitation, it's the same thing. Focus on the top middle chart. This is a forecast now for probabilities of above, below, or average precipitation. And what I want you to focus on is this patch of brown that's kind of squeaking up from Mexico all the way into the west slope of Colorado. There is high confidence that we will see below average precipitation in those areas combined with above average temperatures in the May, June, July timeframe. And if we look at the official Climate Prediction Center's outlook for May, June, and July, you'll see this is very reflective of what we just looked at. Temperature outlook on the left, precip outlook on the right. Moving forward into June, July, August, JJA, June, July, August, much of the same. We're likely looking down the barrel of one of the warmest summers on record for North America. The probabilistic forecast is definitely highlighting that with high confidence and above average temperatures across our region. And if we look at precipitation, now you're starting to see high confidence in below average precipitation with these brown colors extending through the broader Rocky Mountain area. So again, we might not get into fire season until 3rd, 4th week in July or August or even early September, but it's looking like we're going to have a hot and dry mid to late summer season. And here's the Climate Prediction Center's outlook that's very reflective of the same thing. Again, I just want to point out above average temperatures, below average precipitation during the summer months. We're going to be tilting the scales towards more fire potential. May 1st, the NIFC Predictive Services folks issued their significant wildland fire potential outlook. This is for June. Not showing a lot of activity for us. For July and for August, Great Basin starts to light up. Hawaii starts to light up. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if we start to see some more red painted on this across the Rocky Mountains. Just, kind of seeing where we head this summer in terms of if these forecasts for above average temperatures and below average precipitation shakes out. Here's my contact information. I'm happy to help you. Feel free to reach out at any time if you're doing more refresher trainings. Feel free. I'll gladly make another YouTube video or even show up in person if I can. But please contact me if you need anything. I'm here to help you out.